So I'm back with John O'Donnell, President and Chief Executive Officer of Allstate Insurance. And before the break, John, I promised we would talk. In fact, I promised that in the first break that we would talk about reward and recognition. And as I mentioned to you, I see them as two very distinct elements. In fact, I see reward as one tool in the recognition toolbox. Recognition being much broader and frankly being a lot less expensive because it's just acknowledging and recognizing a job well done. Yeah. Whereas reward usually has a financial component to it. Now, the insurance business is, and you mentioned earlier, is very data-driven, a lot of numerics involved in it. Talk to me a little bit about, reward recognition, how it's used, what are the different aspects of it within your organization, if you don't mind.
Sure. So for reward, one of the things that I really like that we do is, once again, we had mentioned this, but I'll mention it again in this topic, the profit sharing, right. Because it is tied to the common goals of the organization, both in terms of the balanced growth and profit and the targets we've set for ourselves there as an enterprise, so across the three companies. And then also the customer experience, which we just talked a bit about. So everyone's on the same page there.
And I want to interrupt for a moment. Is when you talk about that enterprise thing, one of the other things that it does, I assume, is it really creates that shared working together. It's not like I'm all in it for me. I'm actually working as part of a team. Is that intentional, the way you've built that in to try to create that team approach, or what was the thinking behind that?
Yes, it's intentional, and even the way we've structured. So I mentioned earlier, very briefly, I alluded to market teams that we've created, and this is just within the past year on a more formal basis, where we will have cross-functional people across the organization at different levels who are part of a specific market. Although we have 3 different brands in the market, we'll sit at the same table and discuss different tactics and opportunities and results and trends in the market, because I think there's a great advantage in just sharing what we see and working together, and we share all the same shared services. So it's really a partnership amongst the team. So we do have those common goals for reward. Reward, we also, of course, have sales targets and sales goals. But the unique thing on the sales side is it's not simply about production, as some sales targets may be, but it's also weighted highly and even more so in some of our bonus components on retention. Right. Which directly reflects
the
ultimate
customer satisfaction, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So there are actual monetary awards for that as well, which we think drives the right behavior in our agencies. We also have recognition programs. You said that's a little less expensive, but often more meaningful to people.
I totally agree with you there. Yeah.
So even a simple thank you or recognizing people for the work. In fact, that's something we measure as well. So every year our employees, because we believe employee engagement is absolutely critical to fulfilling our mission and our vision. But we take the Canadian Leadership Management Survey every year. One of the questions is, has your manager recognized you in the last week for some work you've done? And we measure that across each area, along with other engagement, but specific to your question about recognition. And that's good feedback and learning for the organization, and keeps it top of mind, because that's critical for people to see, once again, how they fit into the organization's goals. We also have WOW cards, where that's a peer-to-peer recognition for going above and beyond. And then we also have some formal recognition programs. We have Employee Excellence Awards, where employees throughout the organization Of course, we'll also have some sales awards, and which also, of course, the retention, as I mentioned, is factored into. But separate from that, we have Employee Excellence Awards, which will award people throughout the organization for the strong work they've done in living into our mission and vision. And that's a weekend, and this year it was a weekend in Toronto, and people came in from across the country. And it was a great ceremony. People got in front of their spouses or partners, got up on stage, and were recognized for what they had done. And I believe it was meaningful to them. It was meaningful to me.
Yeah. Well, I've actually trademarked the words performance accelerator, which I use to describe recognition, because recognition to me is certainly, it can be significantly less expensive when you think about the amount of recognition that you're able to provide, because recognition is as simple as acknowledging someone on a daily basis for a job well done. And the nice thing about it is when you start to use it effectively, it really starts to communicate to other people in the organization, these are the behaviors we want to see modeled.
Yep.
And it reinforces that, and that's such a critical element of it. Now, do you personally get out into the organization as much as you'd like, or do you find yourself being sucked back into the organization? And the reason I'm asking that is because when you go out into the field and provide that personal one-on-one recognition, that's an incredibly powerful tool. How do you deal with the draw of, I got to be in the office doing work versus the need to be out in the field motivating, inspiring people that work in your organization?
It's a great question, and there's a constant tension there. We only have so many hours in the day and days in the year, but I do try and get out there, because that's really where you learn. For me, I learn, and I ask lots of questions and appreciate people for what they do, and it's you find out just how committed people are when you make some of those trips. So we do town halls in each of our regions every year, and then there are other visits as well, getting into the agencies and claims offices, and just listening to people, understanding what's going on in those markets. But I will tell you, after some of those trips, my leadership team will know that I've been out, because I'll have all sorts of new things to talk about.
Yeah.
Did you guys know this?
Yeah, it's amazing, and I think leaders need to spend time out, getting their feet dirty or their hands dirty, whatever the appropriate expression is for their particular industry, because we learn so much from the frontline people who deal with the day-to-day needs of our business, and also, so when I talk to some of my clients, I one of the first things I'm asking is, how are you getting personal insight to what's happening? Like, not just reading it, but actually personally doing that. How are you getting input from the folks who are on the front line? How are you getting, the input from the customer? And it sounds like Allstate is really, working hard to improve those listening posts to make sure that, that they're getting the information that they need. So I got to go ahead.
So I was going to mention on that, there are other ways we do that as well. So all of our leaders have what we'd call, or I don't know if the company actually calls it, a skip level meetings. So
right.
So for example, I would meet with all the direct reports of my direct reports and just understand from their perspective what they're seeing. And it really helps you understand what talent you have in the organization as well, because they will be our future leaders at Allstate. Also, I try and have it, so on a monthly basis, we just have coffee. So I have coffee with a random group of frontline employees. The only request I make is we don't have any managers, because I just want it to be people truly on the front lines. We have a national advisory board of agents. So when we're making our decisions, in the four walls of the head office, we can actually bounce it off how this is going to play out then on the front lines.
So you've mentioned your coffees. A number of other senior leaders that I speak to at the CEO and the presidential suite, they talked about, I have one who's, they have breakfast with Bob. They have, coffee with Brian. I mean, this is really an important element of listening, and I don't think every organization appreciates just how valuable that tool is to get those absolutely fresh insight. And it really goes back to what you talked about, right off the beginning, is about trust. For someone who's non-managerial, who's 3, 4, 5 levels removed from you, to be able to look you in the eye over a coffee and say, here's what I think needs to be done. You got to have built that trust in, otherwise you're not going to get the truth. We've
had some very open conversations in those meetings, which is encouraging to me. Everything from why is this a floating holiday to have we thought about this particular strategy in the organization. So it's been very eye-opening for me, and I enjoy those meetings. I look forward to them.
We've got about a minute and a half left to go, so you see how I give you that tip on timing here. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about some of the public, some of the community work that Allstate's involved in, because I think that's equally important in terms of building engagement, because now I feel good because you're connecting in my community. What are some of the things that your employees are involved in within the community?
And thanks for giving me that opportunity, because that is core to our culture. We are out there in the communities, and we encourage our agents and our employees to be leaders in the community, and I think they've frankly done a great job with that. We're, as you mentioned earlier, we're sponsors of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, United Way. We do a lot of work there. But there are a lot of smaller things that we do. We sponsor youth hockey leagues. You may have heard of the Allstate All-Canadians sponsorship, where we put on mentorship camps that the bigger camp is for the top prospects across the country that are in the age range of 15, 16 years old. However, we're working towards integrating that more into the community for youth of all skill levels, so they can participate in the program that talks about nutrition and just life skills beyond hockey. So we really do encourage our agents to be strong members of the community, and it's foundational to our organization. Yeah.
Well, and it's foundational to any strong organization, is that that the employees feel that the organization is deeply embedded into the community, and I'm glad that you folks obviously are doing that, because I'm sure it means a lot to the employees. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. I promised you this hour would go like lightning, and I think it has. So first of all, I want to thank you for sharing your insights and so freely and transparently with us today. So I appreciate that. So joining me today, I wanted just to thank John O'Donnell, who's the President and CEO of Allstate Insurance. For more on the show and to share your feedback, go to rogerstv.com. You can also connect with me directly online at billhogg.ca, where you'll find lots of information and articles on building a high-performing work environment at your business, or to simply ask a question. Thank you for joining us. Our goal is to inspire leaders like you to accelerate performance. Best wishes for your continuous improvement.